much more around it in these last 20 years, I suppose.
Okay, and I just looked at my technology. This is my first time doing a Hangout, and I noticed I've just missed the broadcast. So for the viewers, sorry if you missed the part. So what I just did, for everybody who's listening now, tuning in now, is I did an introduction in terms of why I'm doing this Hangout, which is why I don't do New Year diets, because I thought it's really interesting to launch Love Happy Body. And then also it's the New Year, it's the 2nd of January. And one of the most common resolutions is to set diets. And I'm a person who, seen or I'm not believing in setting diets. So I thought it would be interesting to have this broadcast on why I don't do diets. And then I went on to introduce the awesome Sara Ellis, who's from London originally, who's kindly joined our conversation today from Canada, where it's really early in the morning. And she's a hypnotherapist who specializes in helping people with eating disorders or people who not only want to lose weight, but also want to maintain a weight loss, which is like kind of the key. So hi, Sara, again, just to tell people, who are tuning in right now.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm in Canada, so it's not even the morning, it's just gone midnight, so I'm... Yeah. Luckily, I'm not Cinderella. I made it past midnight, and I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
So slippers haven't turned into pumpkins, or I've never able to tell. It's so funny. And then I went on to introduce Lynn Collett, who's a nutritionist and wellness expert, who's written books about health, feeling good about yourself, and she's a person who's always knows about what the latest diet fad is, and so hi, Lynn, to the audience again who missed the first few minutes of this since I didn't press my broadcast button.
Hello everyone, nice to see you all, or hear you all, or listen to us, whichever it may be.
And it's broadcasting. So sorry everyone who's tuning in. So as you tuned in, you saw the part where we were talking about what a diet is, and as Lynn was describing, she's describing how the diet had a definition. For example, your dietary requirements. So for example, you might be gluten intolerant, or you might be diabetic, so you might be on a low GI diet, so that might be one interpretation. So I'm going to hand you back to Lynn again, everyone watching. So, Lynn,
so am I just repeating the answer to the original question about what the word diet means?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Originally, the word diet simply means, or meant, what we ate. What was in our diet, what foods we consumed. However, today, because of a lot of marketing and different things, and a lot of fad diets, as you mentioned, Sophia, people have come to view the word diet as a nasty, bad thing that you shouldn't be on or you shouldn't do, or as you say, a lot of fad diets are coming out, when originally the word didn't have any of those connotations to it. So the word diet should just mean what you eat.
Yes. So thanks, Lynn, for asking that question. How about you, Sara? What do you think about diets? What comes to your mind when you hear the word diet? So what does a diet mean to you?
Well, I agree with what Lynn said, that it used to be, many years ago, it just meant a regime, a way of eating. And the only reason that it's got a bad name is because so many of us went through hell on diets. And I can speak with authority on that because I yo-yo dieted for years. And yo-yo diet, again, is it's another term for punishment alternated with more punishment. So you're either on the diet, punishing yourself, starving, going without, restricting yourself, or you're so fed up with the restriction that you say, "Wahey!" and it's supposedly a good thing, eating a binge, well, let's call it what it is, binging on all these goodies, the cakes, but it's not, it's another form of punishment because you just feel so awful from the whatever it is you've done to your body, the sugar-induced high or the toxic from all the chemicals that you eat from these binges. So really it is a cycle, or a diet for me, and yo-yo dieting was a cycle of punishment, purging, binging, more punishment. And I was on that cycle for about 13 years, from teens to late 20s, and it was only when I addressed the psychological part of it that I eventually got some sanity in my eating habits and patterns, and I released all the unwanted weight then. I was a size 18 and I'm a size 10 now, so yeah, I don't know if everyone can see me. I really should show off how fabulously slim
I am, shouldn't I? I always say that I'm also friends with Sarah on Facebook, and I always look at her glamorous pictures of posing in these nice places.
Yeah, you have a picture of me attached to this, don't you?
Yes, we did have a nice picture in terms of promotion of you.
Yeah.
Nice and flat dress, which she always looks good, and I met Sarah in person too. So yeah, she always looks very nice too. Always. Yeah, but it's interesting what you mentioned, Sarah, about the guilt attached to diets and emotional side, because over Christmas I was having dinner and my older sister was there, and with my sister, because you know in families you have people who come in all different shapes and sizes sometimes, and with her I remember she's very slim when she's young, and then I think she got to a point when she got a teenager, started to put on lots of weight. And then from then, it was like a cycle of, going on different diets, etc., and exercise regimes, and yo-yo up and down. And what was very interesting is a few weeks ago on the Love Happy Body Facebook page, I posted a poster there, and it was actually inspired by a conversation I had with someone I know who's always, goes on different diets. And I turned around to her and I said that, I think the key to really being successful is it's not, doing diets, but it's finding something, a lifestyle, something which fits with them. So this is to do with what they eat, be able to, enjoy what they're eating. And also, for example, like maybe doing some sort of exercise. For example, like with me, I'm not really big in the gym, but I prefer to power walk, do Pilates and do other sort of things to keep myself fit. Because I know if I said I'm going to join the gym, I know I'd be like one of those people in January, maybe we start, and then I get very bored unless I have someone come along with me all the time. But it's important to keep fit, of course. But the poster I created, going back to, is I don't do diets, or diets don't work. That's what it was. Lifestyles work. And I remember my older sister turning around and said when she saw that, especially being a person who's, been on different sorts of regimes, I felt like throwing my phone at my computer. And I saw that poster, and I saw like brought up, like how it's very emotional, Sarah, what you just mentioned, diets, because it's not just about eating, it's the emotional side, which I talked about, in terms of, why do people go on diets? And sometimes it's to do with, them thinking, okay, I'm worthy at the end of the day, because I've actually met some people in the past who have said to me, look at me, I'm disgusting. And obviously that's much more emotional stuff going on. So what do you think, Lynn, about the emotional side to diet?
The emotional side to everything in life is it. Everything that we do, everything that we eat, everything that we say, everything that we buy is because of our emotions. And it comes into the diet and well-being side of things in a big way, because, as you say, you've heard people say, look at me, I'm disgusting, or I'm this, that, or the other. And when somebody thinks that low of themselves, if you think that low of somebody, what are you going to do to help them? You're not going to do much, are you? So it's that emotional side of it, and I've been working in women's only fitness now for nearly 30 years. Get a bit of a twitch every now and again. And it is always what they think about themselves, what they think about their life, and what they think about how they're perceiving themselves as being treated. The emotional part of losing weight is the biggest part, because that controls what we will or will not do as far as looking or feeling better goes. It's a big, big one.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, Sarah, to this?
No, I absolutely agree with Lynn. I hope I'm not the whole interview just going to agree with Lynn. Lynn's going to say something amazing.
Yes. It's nice to have a debate, isn't it? It's nice to have one.
No, I would like to add, I agree, and I would like to add that we live in a society that perpetuates this whole cycle. It makes people feel bad. If you look, I mean, for me, it started as a teenager, and back then, I'm going to show my age now. Back then, the big TV programs were things like Charlie's Angels,
Yeah.
and they were all these really, really skinny women, and they were held up as what was the ideal of beauty. Now, okay, that was when I was a young teenager, so we're talking 35 years ago. 35 years on, it hasn't changed. If you look at TV, who are the role models? Who are being held up as beautiful? I know the ideal of beauty changes slightly, but watch anything like X Factor. Usually the contestants and the girls that get through are the thin, pretty ones. And the more famous they get, the thinner they get. And actually, even if you look at Kate Middleton, when she was dating Prince William, and of course she was in the public eye because she was dating him, but she wasn't such a public figure. Before she was engaged to Prince William, when they were dating, she was a very slim, healthy girl. She had a great figure. As soon as she got in the public, as soon as they announced their engagement and she was in the public eye all the time, she suddenly got really skinny. And that is what happens a lot in the media. If you look at people, the more famous they get, the more in the public eye they are. The ideal is to be very skinny, and that's how they become, and that's what we are bombarded with all the time on TV. And unfortunately, it begins, the way it began for me was as a teenager, and that's how it's beginning for most women, and that's where they hook in to the diets, the weight loss products, and then once you're hooked in, it's the same as a drug dealer that stood on the street corner. That you keep coming back, that diet fails, you come back for something else, that product fails, you buy something else. And can I just say, I wish I had all the money that I spent on diet and weight loss products over the years, and that is ranging from the diet books, the shakes, the meal replacements, the DVDs, the exercise equipment that made great dryers to hang my clothes on, I must say. All these things that I spent money on that promise that this elusive great body, and really, as Lynn said earlier, none of it is going to work unless the mindset is right, unless the emotional side is addressed.
Yeah, it's always about the mindset with everything. So it could even relate to issues, for example, like how I opened about money. And that's why I thought this is an interesting topic, because you could apply it, for example, I don't know, even in relationships, Sarah, can't you? You could apply the same principle about your mindset. Why am I, being not successful? Why don't I being in this sort of relationship or attract to this person? It's always about your self-worth. And it was very interesting that last week in the news you had Katie Hopkins, who's quite notorious in the UK press, and she was talking about. I
don't know who she is. Who is this?
Hopkins. She was this lady who participated in Apprentice, I think, some years ago. I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and I think she's one of the runner-ups. And she's a very opinionated person who goes on TV to discuss how I don't like certain names, or I associate certain names with certain people. And her latest was that she apparently in the press was talking about how it's very easy to lose weight, and she was like hinted maybe possibly that maybe it's because people are a bit lazy, the people who's overweight. And her recent thing which she's done is she actually piled on lots of weight, so she went up to I think a size 18 or size 20, and now she's dieting to lose all that weight off. Just to prove a point. And I think she actually featured in an Australian breakfast show last week. Talking about this whole thing. And I think one of the interesting things that came up is one of the people on the panel said that what she's doing is actually negative, because there's no such as fat shaming and it's not empowering at all. And I think that's like a key thing, in terms of, looking at yourself and, why in terms of weight loss and maintaining it, a little bit about what we touched upon. Because I remember reading a book, E Squared by Pam Grouts, which I know you read, Sarah. I'm not sure if you read that. Lynn, have you read E Squared?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, but I can remember right at the beginning when she's talking about when she was younger, she used to feel that she was overweight, had frizzy hair, and then she talked a little bit later on about how when she started to feel good about herself, but she actually thought all of a sudden she saw transformation. She was, losing the weight, maintaining shape, etc. So it's really interesting, the whole thing about, being empowered and, being positive.
Can I also add that I think you both mentioned something about a diet being a healthy eating plan, or it might be a particularly prescribed for you if you say you had an allergy or something, a diet that you followed. Can I also say that there is this new phenomenon, it's called orthorexia, where people say that they have some sort of intolerance, and it's really masking an eating disorder. So I'm sure that both of you and many of the people that are tuning into this are familiar with the gluten intolerant that's very fashionable at the moment, and people are saying, oh yeah, I'm gluten intolerant, or I'm lactose intolerant, they can't have dairy products, or whatever it is. No, you're not. You're on a diet.
Oh, that's really interesting, Sarah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, these people, they don't have an allergy or an intolerance, or they've come across some way that they think is going to make them lose weight, and it's the latest thing, and so they're calling it. They're saying that they have an allergy or an intolerance, and it's some sort of socially acceptable way of manipulating your dinner hostess into and you can sit there instead of being the awkward person that's on the diet. You can sit there and say, oh, I can't have whatever it is, the wheat or the dairy or the
that's a really interesting comment you made, Sarah, because I remember some years ago I had a friend who's into nutrition. She just finished training and she thought, okay, Sophia, why don't I do a health diagnosis of you? And then she actually put the suggestion, maybe you should stop eating gluten products, and then just say you wouldn't be able to eat this and that. And I felt like kind of like dread, and I thought, am I really gluten intolerant? I think, I'm not gluten intolerant, and never thought about it that way. And what you just mentioned there reminds me of an episode I saw of Sex and the City, which I was a big fan of it. Even before it became very popular, I was watching the show. And I remember the character Carrie didn't like, I think, coriander or something. So what she used to do, she used to go to restaurants and say, I'm allergic to coriander, so she wouldn't have that on her plate. So that's a very interesting comment you made. Like, I'm gluten intolerant, or I'm, allergic to dairy. Yeah, it's really interesting. Have you come across that, Lynn, too?
Oh, yes. Lots of ladies at the gyms and in my consultation practice believe that they are intolerant, or that they have a problem, or they're going on the gluten-free diet, as you said, because it is the latest fad. And unfortunately, gluten-free does not mean weight loss. In a lot of the products that are out there that people that are gluten-free are eating are quite high in calories and things that aren't going to help weight loss at all. What I find, if there is one thing amongst women, I do a system of hair indexing, and what I'm finding is sometimes the cravings are real, and a lot of ladies have a yeast infection or candida, and this is why they're craving the sugar, because it craves to be fed. So once I pick that up and we address that, that does help. So there is that. It's not so much of an intolerance, but it is a factor that many women have some sort of yeast infection, and that's causing a lot of the sugar cravings that they're having.
Yeah, so what are you saying, Lynn? Are you saying that for each and one of us that we should maybe do some sort of diagnosis, in terms of, finding out, more about her body, how it's working? Because I think that's another key to keeping fit,
I,
having a healthy lifestyle, is being tuned to your body. So for example,
yes, I believe.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go. Sorry, Liv. I was going to say. So
I believe it needs to be taught in schools.
Yeah.
It really needs to be jumped up, and people need to know more about their bodies, because what I've seen over the years, by the time the ladies get to me, it could be the fact that one of the sayings that I hear a lot is, I used to be able to eat anything I liked and I never put on weight, and they've reached 37, and of course now the weight's going on and they have no idea of how to stop it because they weren't taught or understood anything about their body from a young age. And I do programs at the gym where I have the year 10 to 12 students in Australia, that's like the last 3 years.
Yes.
Of their school, come up to the gym, and we do an exercise plus a nutritional session with the girls, so that they get to learn a bit more about their body and how it works. Because when you talk to a lot of the young girls today, they think some of the fast foods out there, without mentioning any of them, are complete food, because they've got all 5 food groups. They've got a bit of tomato, they've got some bread, they've got some meat, and they've got some butter or some fats. And it's just wrong.
Yeah, that's a really interesting subject about, do we understand food groups? Because I think you're right. In school, or when I was going to school, I don't think they really went into so much detail about, what's right for you. But I have a question to pose for you guys, is that, how all of us are different, as I mentioned early on, when I talk about families whereby you have people who come in all different shapes and sizes. In terms of the body, you get people who, I don't know, might have a faster metabolism, or sometimes they might have issues, for example, their thyroid gland. So if it's not working, as it should be, it might be a case whereby, no matter what they appear to be doing, they're not losing the weight. Whereas if a person, it might be more active and they're losing weight. Is that something which should also be considered too? Like finding out more about how your body's working? Because all of us are different, because you've got some people who might be more predisposed, for example, to become diabetic. Then they might, try to follow, for example, a low GI diet, which is like one of the healthiest diets, or that's what diabetics use, because that's what my mum used, which is, diabetic, and then she got later in her life, and now she controls it more because of having a low GI type of diet. So how do people find out more about, how their body's working? Because I know, Lynn, you touched upon about the cell. And I think we could actually analyse, what's going on. But how can you, like it's an everyday person?
Sarah, do you want to have a go at that one, or will you?
I thought, well, I thought, Lynn, you were going to answer. I will just say briefly, yes, absolutely, there can be something like polycystic ovary syndrome, for example, which that's really going to play havoc with the hormones and weight. Also, what you mentioned, the thyroid. So what I'm going to do is I'll let Lynn talk about the hormones, and then if I can I come back after Lynn has talked about the hormones, because I want to say something about. I'm always going to bring it back to the emotional side. So
me too.
and then can I comment on that?
Yeah. Okay. Hormonal changes in women, thyroid conditions. I believe a lot of the ladies, a lot of the women I see, what I see is they need to label themselves somehow. So they try to find the reason that they're not losing weight. And so they go to the doctor and they'll say, like, I've not lost weight and I've been trying. Oh, well, let's test for this and let's test for that. And so they keep going through all these tests until finally they find that thing, that thyroid condition or whatever it may be, and that's the reason that they can then label themselves, oh, well, you see, I've got this. And however, I'm not saying that this isn't a big part of it. Some ladies actually do have these problems. But what I see a lot of is the need to label the reason why you're unable to lose weight. And I see that a lot. but definitely polycystic ovaries, thyroid conditions, all of these things don't help weight loss. And hormones, the menopausal problems that women have are very real, so they need to be addressed as well.
Okay, well, thank you, Lynn.
And I would also like to add to that, in the same way that with the orthorexia, women can, men as well, sorry, people can say, oh, I'm gluten intolerant, and just jump on a bandwagon. I think that people can use it as an excuse to gain weight and hold on to it. So they will say, oh, I've got a hormone problem. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I know that when I was overweight for many years, I would say things like, well, my mum was overweight, well, a lot of the women in my family were overweight, and, you know, sometimes I would blame it on many different things, anything but I had a terrible lifestyle and pattern of eating and severe emotional problems around eating, and I didn't want to look at the real reasons, so I made many excuses. And I have a lot of clients, they will say things like, oh, well, after having my 2 children back to back, I had a hormone problem. Well, no, you don't have to be overweight after having 2 babies. There's no reason to have a lot of weight, and people will use hormones as an excuse. They will latch on to any excuse to keep them in that place rather than addressing what is really going on. And it's only when they're ready to address what is going on that then they can look at things, and then everything will unravel and the weight will begin to fall off, which is what happened for me. Certainly everything unraveled.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because again, I think Sara talking about mindset, about, you know, excuses which people make, or about himself, you know, for example, like, why am I stuck in this place, you know, because of this. And it's really interesting because I've heard it lots of times saying, oh, I'm like this because I'm big boned. So I've heard it. So I think that's one of the most famous ones, I think, which people said. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so a question I like to ask, since we're kind of like midway through, is we talked about, we opened about, why diets are not successful. So what should people do if they really want to maintain, a healthy weight, to maintain weight loss? Because that's one of the key things, is they want to maintain it instead of, going on these different types of diets which we talked about. So,
well, number one, I would say with exercise, I don't like gyms. I say the exercise that is best for you is the one you are most likely to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no one size fits all. And again, that is where society goes wrong, because January the gyms are making a fortune. Everybody is saying join a gym, and they will. And again, the only reason I'm saying this is because I did it. Spent a lot of money on gym membership, never went. I once worked out that the amount of times I went, it worked out about £85 a swim. That's a very expensive swim. For me, there was no point in joining a gym, because I personally don't like gyms. I know some people love them, and that's great. If you are a gym bunny, great. I personally love walking. Okay, I've got to put my hand up here and say I've got a lovely dog. I'm advantaged.
Yeah,
I could go on Hampstead Heath and walk and hike for hours, and it is my idea of bliss. So that, for me, is the exercise that I like, and it doesn't feel like exercise. So find what is right for you. For some people love yoga. I don't like it. I don't want people bending over in front of me farting. So.
Oh yeah, no, it looks like we're in the same club there. We like walking, and when you think about it, walking is really good, and it's not too high impact. For example, like running or jogging, for instance. And if you have a child, when you can push the child. It's like with my niece Sienna, she's getting bigger, she's 19 months old, and I might push her around with her pram, so that I could, be using assistance at the same time whilst doing my ordinary walk. So.
And there's all the things like Zumba and the different dance classes and all that. And again, they're not for everyone, but they're a great form of exercise where you can have fun. And I don't know what Lynn is going to recommend, but there are many, many different types of exercise. So find the one that you like and you enjoy, and that's the one that you will do and you'll stick to.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice, Sarah, about doing something, because that's all about lifestyle, doing something which that you can enjoy and you can attain. I think that's the key. Lynn?
I agree totally. Whatever exercise you do need to enjoy. I, however, have been in gyms for years because I do enjoy it, and I get a lot of people that do enjoy it. And a lot of as I said, been in ladies only fitness now for nearly 30 years. And a lot of the ladies that come to my gym actually do what they enjoy doing. We have a circuit workout, we do the Zumba classes, we have all different things for different people. And it becomes very effective. The main part about gyms and the main part about exercising in gyms is that we do resistance training, which you cannot get walking. Even carrying a hand weight, you're only going to hurt your shoulders if you keep trying to do that. Resistance training, particularly for women, building up that bit of muscle in their body, preventing or helping osteoporosis, resistance training or strength training is the way to do that. And I believe the reason I have no problem with my age, the reason that at nearly 56 I can maintain my weight quite easily, I look after my body quite easily, is because I have done resistance training ever since I was 30. And but just having that small amount of extra muscle, because the biggest thing that women say is that, I can't lift a weight because I don't want to get bulky. It is the last thing that will happen to women in lifting weights. If they lift a weight and start doing some strength training, you increase your muscle tissue. Muscle tissue burns fat. Fat doesn't burn fat. You increase your muscle tissue just by a small amount all over your body, and you can burn up to 400 to 500 more calories a day than somebody that hasn't. So, and it's an area, and for years and years I've answered that question. When ladies have come to the gym, I don't want to lift weights, I only want to do cardio because I don't want to get bulky. And I used to get quite blunt in the end and say, look, sweetheart, you haven't got a chance. But most women are scared of it, whereas it's the best thing, particularly if you're over 50, is resistance training. And a gym is the safest place to do that.
Okay, I was going to ask you, Lynn, then the question, can't you do any other type of exercises? Because for example, Sarah's mentioned, for example, if you don't like the gym, you can do dancing, which is, a form of, burning, you can, get an exercise. So you're saying that you can't do resistance training unless you're in a gym? Because I was going to ask you.
It's the safest way to do it. If you're in a proper gym, it's the safest way.
Okay.
But there are other ways you can do it. There are other ways you can do resistance training. Push-up. A push-up is resistance training. A squat is resistance training. So standing there with a couple of weights in your hand.
Yeah, can I also add to that? I tell my clients to get movement in every day, everywhere. So it's not just, that's great, absolutely. Go to the gym, do training, go to the classes. If you like that, walk, whatever the exercise is, go to the gym and do the Zumba class. Whatever the classes are you like, that's fantastic. And walk up the escalators.
Yes.
At the train station. Don't stand on the escalator. Get movement in. And one of the things that I say in terms of, to come back to what Lynn said about building up muscle, and this is only for the ladies, it's not for men listening, is the pelvic floor muscles, where you simply stop. I don't know who's familiar with how the Kegel exercises work, but you simply use the muscle to stop when you're having a wee. You stop the stream in space. You stop the stream, and then you tighten the muscle, and then you release it, and then you tighten the muscle. There are probably better ways to be tightening those muscles. You know, I'm going to bring it back to sex. Anybody that
book do research about between eating and, you know.
Anyone that has fabulous sex knows that the stomach muscles tone up. So there are many ways other than exercise classes and the more formal ways of exercise. There are many ways to get movement in and be using the muscles that we forget about.
Yeah, because the reason why I find this topic very interesting is because I'll give you a really good example. I remember once I co-owned a cleaning company, and I found when I used to help out that was actually good exercise. What I'm getting at is, you know, like everyday things like vacuuming or cleaning and moving around, like we said, could actually help you, you know, maintain your fitness. And as I mentioned when I opened, is I know I'm not a gym person at all, so it'd be very hard. And when I was asking Lynn about resistance training, and what you did mention, Lynn, that you could do like push-ups, and there was some like exercise where you're using your own body weight as resistance to help toning up. Because I think there are ways to keep fit. And when you think about, for example, small children, I know that normally the metabolism much faster. They do things like games, they do star jumps, etc. So I think that's the point it's trying to come out, is that, you know, there's everyday things that you could be doing. And when you think about it, years ago, before they even had gyms existed, time's gone by. I know obviously things are, you know, much easier now, so we don't have to do strenuous labour work, etc., or go hunting, you know, for food, like one of my friends said his grandparents did in Finland. But that's the way of, you know, incorporating movement and, you know, keeping fit. So that's
I find it
interesting.
Sorry,
Len.
I find it very interesting that you mentioned that about olden ways. I just finished doing an article, and it was how we're now going back to what we used to be like. Like the biggest fad at the moment is the paleo diet. Well, I've been recommending the paleo diet since 1980-something to anybody that would listen. If it's colourful and grows in the dirt, as long as it's not poisonous, eat it. And add a bit of protein to your diet some way, however suits you. And now the latest fad in the fitness industry is called zoo. And I was looking at it the other day, and now what we're doing is moving around like animals do. And it's spelt ZUU if you want to look it up. So I said in this article, we've regressed back to our caveman days in more ways than one. We're now meant to be eating like it again, and now we're exercising like that used to. So, and I've watched these fads in the fitness industry come around and go and come around and go again, but there's an example of what's happening today as fads is the fact that we are going back to the paleo style of living and eating. And that is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, it's interesting about
the sound. I like the sound of zoo. I mean, as I left the guys out in the last exercise to do, the guys could lift the woman up and throw her over the shoulder, and that's great exercise.
Right. Yeah. Jack her off to the bedroom. Yeah.
Like the caveman did. No wonder they were so fit.
Exactly. It's a more functional form of fitness too, in more ways than one, as you were saying, Sarah.
Yeah, it's interesting we talk about fitness, because one of our guests on our show today was meant to be Ricardo Mendoza, who's like an international fitness and health expert, but unfortunately he was, you know, couldn't tell he was unwell. But we've been interested in if he was on right now, you know, his, you know, viewpoint, or, you know, different type of, you know, exercises too. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. But talking about fads, you know, different diets, is a question I'd like to put forward to. This is all to do with, you know, the food you buy. Is I think it's easy to eat healthy, you know, going back to basics, you know, in terms of food. Because I see articles, I saw it the other week on the paper, and then someone was saying, oh, it's okay for celebrities to go on these latest fad diets, but how can we afford, you know, to, you know, pay this extra money for this certain type of food group? So I think it's, you know, with diet, it's very easy for people, you know, to, eat healthily or buy certain food groups? Because you hear about things, for example, like being organic.
Yeah, to answer the question, yes, it is easy to eat healthily, and also, again, it comes back to people can get into excuses because, again, I'm going to say from first-hand experience, but I know that my clients do this. They will say, oh, well, I've got children, I've got a budget to keep to, it's expensive to buy, the organic stuff, and they will buy the Haagen-Dazs ice cream and have a binge. They'll buy the chocolates and the cakes. So no, I'm not making light of if people have they may have several mouths to feed and a budget. I'm not making light of that. But no, what I say to my clients is they'll begin with, I want to cut out this and I want to give up chocolate, or cut out and give up. No, remove those words from your vocabulary. Add more in, because a lot of people that aren't eating healthily, what they're doing is they're malnourished. They're eating the junk foods and the processed foods, so they're not getting enough nutrients, so their body is craving more, so they're eating more of those nutrient lacking foods. So I say, just don't give up anything. Add in more fruit and veg, and I say eat the colour of the rainbow, and I'm interested in what Lynn will say, and also keep it seasonal. And no, it isn't expensive to go to, especially if you can go to markets and get fresh fruit and vegetables. No, it's not expensive to buy fruit and vegetables and introduce them and have more in your diet, and it definitely is possible. I mean, yes, of course, we would all love to be eating, if we do eat meat and fish, then having the organic steak and the salmon, and not everybody can afford that, but it is still possible to eat healthily, and certainly people that are on a budget, if they're absolutely honest where they're spending money on the goodies. I mean, if ever there was a misnomer, what are called goodies in our society, the cakes and the biscuits and the chocolates and the sweets, and if they're honest what they're spending on those things, probably they could afford more of the fruit and vegetables and the healthy things as well.
Yeah,
I agree totally that it isn't hard to have a more healthy diet and to eat more fruit and vegetables. It's not hard. I agree with everything that you've just said.
Yeah, well, this is very interesting, because the reason I raise this is it's really interesting what you said, Sarah, about that's another excuses people use, like can't afford, to get the organic stuff. And I was actually thinking of a future show about this. Can I afford to eat healthy? So maybe it could be something we could do in another episode. Talk about it a bit more.
May I say one thing about organic? If you look up, I'll say one more thing about organic. If you look up the word organic in any chemistry book, it'll tell you that the word organic means carbon-containing compound. I'm organic, you're organic. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those words like diet. It's been now used in a different form to promote a certain way of eating, or to promote that this fruit is better than that fruit. Organic simply means that it's been grown without herbicides and pesticides, and that the soil hasn't had any herbicides or pesticides on them for 5 years. It doesn't mean that those soils are any richer in minerals than any other soil. So whilst organic is better for you because you're getting less chemicals, organic may not be nutritionally better for you unless the person who is selling that organic food is growing it in more mineral-rich soils. Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anything else to add, Sarah, on that point on organic?
Well, I just agree with what Lynn said, absolutely. And okay, obviously avoid the supermarket two for the price of one chickens that are pumped with hormone. I mean, you know, alarm bells are going to ring if a chicken costs £1.99 or something. It's factory farmed and it's pumped full of hormones. So yes, of course, avoid those ones like the plague. But again, I think that, as Lynn said, these trendy words can get bandied around, and be very careful about. I noticed when I was looking at ingredients on things, some things can be packaged in a health food type way. Even something like having a red and white tablecloth and a sunflower on it, and they're sort of somehow getting this message across, and they'll somehow package it as healthy, and then actually when you look at the ingredients, they're not. So just be very careful about the trendy bandwagons, and organic is one of them. So yeah, don't go to the extreme. I would say avoid the hormone pumped chickens. But no, there are lots of ways that you can eat. It's not a complete polarization of we're eating the hormone pump stuff or the have to take a mortgage out to get the organic stuff. There's a lot in between that you can just eat realistically. As I say, you can go to markets, you can buy lots of fruit and vegetables and healthy things, and it doesn't have to be expensive, not at all.
Yeah, it's really, thanks for this information. I think definitely this is, be good for another episode talking about, foods and stuff, because I always hear this a lot of the times, and I had a conversation with two people last week, not yesterday. One said, you can eat healthily, but, there's no excuse, that you can't afford to eat healthily. And then another person was, saying to me about, how it's so expensive to buy the organic, all that stuff. So, yeah, I think it'd be interesting to do a special, show on this, an episode. So you kind of finished up the episode, because I think this is a 1 hour one, and it's been so interesting, so far. I want to ask both of you a question. So people listening in who are thinking, okay, I want to, change my shape or lose weight or get healthy, what tips would you say? So instead of going on a diet, what would you say? What would you recommend that they do?
Get happy.
Get happy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, we agree on that.
Be happy.
Love yourself.
Yeah.
Most people today are so unhappy. They're unhappy with their life, they're unhappy with their work, they're unhappy with their body. And it's just, happiness is the road to everything. Just be happy with what you've got, where you are, and understand that if you're not exactly where you want to be right now, be happy with what you got and know that you can change it after that. But happiness and loving yourself has to come first. It's the first thing I say to all of my clients.
Yeah, I love it. And I did write that book, Be Happy, so of course. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Sarah? Anything else to add? I know you agree with Be Happy, but what would you say to a person who's coming to you and say to you, my New Year's resolution is I'm going to go on a diet? So how would you respond to that then, Sarah? To that person?
I would say, but completely forget that New Year's resolution in this January. The time to make a change is when you get to the point where inside you say, I am fed up with settling for anything less than the best in terms of my energy, my self-esteem, the way I look, and you begin to say, I'm ready now to reveal my ideal body, to have fantastic energy, to have great confidence. I'm ready, and you can do that any day of the 365 days that are in the year. It doesn't have to be January the 1st. So whenever you are ready, that's the time to pick up the phone and call me or Lynn, and we'll get you there.
And what I do, so people listening today, I will, put the links to Sarah's website and Lynn, and then you get to see all the, fabulous work they do. And it's so lovely having them on the show today. And I like what you said, Sarah, about doing something when it's the time's ready. Because one of the things you probably notice if you look on my social media profile is I haven't been focusing too much on having a happy new year. I've been focusing more on have a happy new season. Because I believe that you could set intention, when you feel ready all year round. So you don't have to wait for a day, a week, a month to do that. So I really love how you hearted, Sarah, about how you could start something when you're ready, and also what you said, Lynn, about being happy, because that's so important. Because no matter what you do, for example, if you want to be in a relationship, or for example want to lose weight, it always starts from feeling good about yourself first, because otherwise it's not going to work. So
exactly.
Can I also add, when I started out as a therapist, as a hypnotherapist many years ago, another very successful hypnotherapist that I knew said to me, people think that as a hypnotherapist, January is the really busy time of year because it's when people have they want to stop smoking, they want to lose weight, they have and he said, no, the really busy time is February, because all the people that failed with their New Year's resolution in January are then coming and calling you to stop smoking and lose weight. And
yeah. How about you, Lynn? Anything else to add?
I think we've covered a fair bit of ground, and obviously there's lots of different areas that we could go into. But no, I think that's wrapped everything up quite nicely. And as Sarah and I both agree, with the people that we've dealt with, and Sarah from her personal experience, and let's face it, we've all had some sort of personal experience in the area, is that it's you know when you're ready, and it's your emotions that are holding you back or helping you. Depends on how you use them.
Yes. Okay, so it's been a pleasure today hosting this event on Why I Don't Do New Year Diet. So it'd be interesting to hear what everyone thinks about this. And so thanks a lot for coming on, Sarah Ellis, talking about, sharing your experiences and your insights. One thing I learned today was it orthorexic, to your term, which people use, in terms of why do they eat food. That's the first time I came up with that, and I thought that was a really interesting point.
Well, thanks very much for having me. It's been fantastic, and I hope you invite me again, and we all get to hang out again and have fun on some other topics.
Yeah, I think the one to do with can I afford to eat healthier, I think that'd be an interesting one if you could go on, further. So I think possibly that could be the next one. And it's been so great having you on too. Hearing about your experience, in terms of people you worked at the gym. And also emphasising again how you're not going to bulk up a lot by lifting weights, and then also highlighting the fact about being happy, and then also always coming from a good place in terms of why you want to change. So it's been really great having you on this webinar, Why I Don't Do New Year Diet. So my question to everyone who's listening right now, or the people who's listening to the playback, is: are you going to go on a New Year diet? So thank you very much, and I've really enjoyed doing this broadcast. And for further information, you can go to my official website, which is www.sophiaworld.co.uk. There will be a new website coming soon for the brand Love Happy Body, so you can keep posted with the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/BeLoveHappyBody. So thank you very much, everyone who's tuned in, and to the guests. All right then, bye.